So if you watch my channel, you already know that we are greenlit to season 10 of American Horror Story. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in those seasons yet, so we're going to continue to speculate and theorize and just really pitch our own theories as that goes along. But the question here remains, what happens after season 10? Does the series end? Do we get season 11? Or is there some other conclusion to the series that we might get in the future that would be, at least in my opinion, probably the coolest way to end the series? Let's talk about it. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. That's right guys, today we're going to be talking about how American Horror Story might end. And honestly, I don't know if this is actually one of those things that people would be upset about or really excited about. You know, I think the community itself would be split one way or the other. But one thing I want to just jump into before we get into anything else is, because we have 10 seasons already greenlit for this television show. I mean, heck, Ryan Murphy was talking about this ever since Asylum came out, that he wanted this television show to be an annual tradition. He wanted fans of the show to look forward to it every single year with a completely different, wholly original storyline with a couple returning characters, some new people, and just have a whole lot of fun with it. And honestly, over the last 8 years, I think that is exactly what they've given us every single year. Yes, there's been lower quality seasons than other ones, and I think a lot of people would say, maybe myself included, that the last couple years just haven't been as good. You know, ever since Jessica Lange left, honestly, I would say that it hasn't been up to quality the way that the first 4 seasons were. But maybe that's just because it's an aging show and it's harder to really grab people after 4 seasons. I completely understand that. But today we're going to be talking about how can they end this series. I mean, because every good thing has to come to an end at some point. And I'm just going to take a moment of your time to talk about why I think we need an American Horror Story movie. And maybe not like, okay, this is a theatrical release and this is something that we're going to be watching on the big screen, because I don't think that's the world we're living in right now. I mean, look at what AMC is doing with the Rick Grimes movies and the Breaking Bad movie. Yes, they're making a Breaking Bad movie, and there's some speculation right now whether or not it's going to be on the big screen or it's going to be on the small screen, but the Rick Grimes Walking Dead movies are firmly planted on the AMC brand. In fact, I've argued in other videos that it's going to be a streaming service exclusive only, because it's a way for them to sell their brand. It's a way for them to sell that streaming service and get people on board. I think FX can have the exact same lucrative market by having American Horror Story, after it's over and done with the 10th season or maybe 11th or 12th or however long this show goes on for, having it end with a unifying movie that tells the story of connecting all of the seasons, or at least trying its best to connect the characters and really set up what brought about all of the seasons that came before it. I've said in other videos, I would like to see the last season of the show not take place in the near future or the distant future, but go all the way back to the beginning and tell us, why have we been watching all of these seasons and how exactly did they connect? And I think there's a lot of things that they can go and jump off on that the seasons have already created. I'm going to throw up a picture on the video right here. You can think about this what you want. This is something that was posted a little over a year ago, maybe around July or late July of 2017. Ryan Murphy posted this on Instagram, and all he said was, "This was interesting." That was his only comment, but it's the 9 circles of hell theory about American Horror Story. I'm just gonna run down this list. You can see it on the screen right in front of you. But Limbo is Murder House. Lust has yet to be expressed with this person's theory. Gluttony is Hotel. Greed is Freak Show. Anger is Roanoke. Heresy is Cult. Violence is yet to be explored, at least when this person was in 2017, but obviously violence can be Apocalypse. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. Fraud is Asylum, and Treachery is Coven. So Lust, I'm just going to throw it out there. Go check it out if you want. I've put Lust at American Horror Story Summer Camp, going back to the 80s and really exploring those 80s slasher themes with, that was basically the entire 80s premise of horror movie and horror movie franchises. That would be a perfect introduction for Lust. Of course, there's various other people who talk about other Circles of Hell theories for other seasons. I mean, when it was first introduced, violence was going to Asylum. Obviously, people have started to reinterpret their theory on this and trying to figure out where all these seasons fall into the 9 Circles of Hell. That's totally fine. But with 10 seasons and no real sequel season in sight, like I was talking about a couple months ago, it's possible now that the 9 Circles of Hell doesn't really make sense. Maybe if you take it as just 9 Circles of Hell, because even though I'm not well versed in Dante's Inferno, I know the fact that the 9 Circles of Hell aren't exactly 9 circles. There's various different avenues and paths when it comes to that 9 Circles of Hell, and they can really explore that. And they can still have that theory, but maybe with just 9 seasons or just 10 or 11 or something, it starts to become a little less clear what they want, and people will kind of start going away from this. My personal idea of how they're going to connect this is you go back to Salem. One of the main driving forces from American Horror Story, especially when it comes to Ryan Murphy, is that the Coven witches come from Salem, and it's definitely their most exciting prospect to write in any given season. Obviously, when Coven was introduced and over and done with, they loved those characters in that world so much that they wanted Scream Queens to be a legitimate spin-off on Fox. They didn't want to produce their own original show at first, before they started actually thinking about it. And even American Horror Story Apocalypse, on my reviews and a lot of other people's opinions, felt like more of a Coven season 2 than anything else. Of course, this would allow them an easy chance to yet again bring up Madison Montgomery with Coven and the Montgomerys from Murder House, as well as Constance Langdon and all the Langdon family and their connection with the first Supreme that was mentioned in Coven. So yeah, there's a lot of connections leading up to Salem, witches, and everything around the American Horror Story anthology. So it is a perfect place to go back and explain how everything got started, at least in my opinion. Salem, the witch trials, and connecting everything to witches and the way that they affect the world around them, I think would be a great way to introduce a movie set in Salem and actually connect all of these stories. Start from the beginning and really connect everything in a true and meaningful way in one movie, maybe 2, maybe 3, but really making their mark and telling the story that they need to tell in order to connect these shows and all of these ideas. There's also a lot of other things that they can do. I mean, they can just simply bring back all these characters and kind of show us, as a lot of people have speculated over the years, that characters like Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson, Jessica Lange, and all the other reoccurring characters are just simply being reborn again into these horrific situations, and they have to live their lives like that. But that's not as compelling as going all the way back to Salem and showing us how all these events that took place on American soil, and was probably one of the darkest things in our entire history, set up the events of every single season of American Horror Story. That's the story I want them to tell, and I think it would be better served in a movie than maybe even a 10-part episode series in a season or something like that. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Do you like the idea of them going into and making a movie based around American Horror Story, whether it's for the streaming service or not, and trying to tell a story that connects between all of the seasons of American Horror Story, allowing every single season to not just simply try to connect or tell that story, but to come back and wholly explain everything in one unifying narrative? Not just simply the fact that whether or not you would like it, but would you like for them to really just play out the show with unconnected or loosely connected anthology-like stories where we're exploring different aspects of horror and all this other stuff for as long as they want, and then try, at least in part, to connect everything in a unifying movie after all is said and done? Whether or not it's on a streaming service for FX or not, maybe it can go into theaters. I mean, heck, it wouldn't be the first television movie to come into theaters, but whether or not it's on a streaming service or in theaters, would you like the movie to actually take a chance to explain how all of these stories are connected? Of course, that's a lot of ground to cover, and it might not be a good movie if they decide to do that. What are your thoughts on there, one way or the other? Is a movie something you would like to see or not? I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. It's been real.